Hello, world. All over the world, there's movement from the countryside to the city. Wait, is that true? I've heard about it so many times, but is this really a trend? Okay, after a bit of searching, yes, the world is increasingly becoming urbanized, meaning people are moving from small villages and towns to cities. In the 2000s, for the first time, more of the world's population lived in urban areas than rural ones. In fact, all projected population growth from here on in will happen in urban areas, while growth in rural areas is set to peak soon and then slowly decline. There is no other large developed country that is as far along the path to urbanization as Japan, which has 92% of its population living in urban areas. And this is only set to grow in the future, where it's predicted that by 2050, 95% of Japan's population will be living the urban life. To me, this begs the question, what happens to all these rural areas as populations decline? What's it like to live in the countryside, or even the small cities of Japan? With that question in my head, I was on my way to Ehime, a small prefecture on the smallest main island of Japan, Shikoku. Well, I actually landed in Okayama, which is across the inland sea, but that's a story for a future video. In this video, I talk with...
My name is Sherry, and I live in Matsuyama, Ehime.
I'll just stop her right there. Technically, she doesn't live in Matsuyama, but in a much smaller city right on the outskirts. But that's not even the most shocking thing she was hiding.
Should I say Sherry or my real name?
Yeah, real name.
Real name? Okay.
Yeah.
Never said it on camera.
Oh, really? Okay.
こんにちは、しおりです。
Anyways, Sherry, or Shiori, lives right next to Matsuyama, population 516,000. It's not exactly a tiny place, but when you're comparing it to the megacity that is Tokyo, it feels downright provincial. I thought it was a good starting off point for this series on rural, or in Japanese, Inaka, Japan. For starters, let's locate Matsuyama in relation to Tokyo. Tokyo is up here, Matsuyama is down here. Matsuyama, which name means pine tree mountain, is big enough to have all the amenities of city life, but small enough where you can get to the mountains, or an untouched beach with just a short car ride. At a lovely park in Matsuyama, I asked Sherry about why she chose to live in Ehime, and then asked her to tell me what she thinks are the pros and cons of life in Ehime versus Tokyo.
I was born in Ehime. I was raised in Ehime until 16, and I moved to America for 3 years. So when I decided to come back to Japan, I was like, well, I was a student back then, so I didn't really have any money, so I couldn't go to just move to Tokyo or big cities. So my initial thought was well, I'm gonna go home, see my family, and spend some time, do maybe part-time jobs and stuff like that, and I'm gonna figure out. And I started my own company, and it went pretty good. So I was like, I kind of like living in Matsuyama. I like this atmosphere. I'm used to living in Matsuyama because this is my hometown.
That's actually an important point when it comes to why people decide to live where they do. In a few studies I've read, the vast majority of people who choose to live in the more rural areas of Japan are usually from the area to begin with. But let's move on to those pros and cons.
Alright, so for Ehime, I guess it's quiet, less people of course, and you have your personal space. You got lots of nature. We have city, but also mountains, parks, and beaches. Those are accessible for only 30 minutes by car. Everyone has a car, so when we go to those places, we have either free parking lot, or we have 100 yen for 30 minutes, so it's really cheap. I think people are really friendly. When you don't feel like you want to talk to somebody when you're in Tokyo. Hey.
I don't know what she's talking about. These people in Tokyo look super chill and ready to chat.
But in here, even if you get lost or something, you can easily talk to people who are just walking down the street. It's very comfortable and safe to live for long term, I think.
While checking out the more rural side of Japan, I only got to spend a half day in Matsuyama, but I asked Sherry to show me a few local spots, as well as some local food.
So this is called nabeyaki udon, and this is one of the local food in Matsuyama.
We'll just eat for a few seconds. Yeah. And I'll do it ugly. Did you have to learn how to eat beautiful for the videos?
Yeah, maybe.
Like do the hair back nicely and then... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Sherry also makes YouTube videos where she talks about living in Ehime, and she does indeed eat a lot more beautiful than I.
So tender.
I don't have a smooth segue into this, so let's just get to what Sherry thinks the pros of living in Tokyo are.
You can get many job opportunities. That's one of the good things. And also like you have many education choices for your kids. Like you can put your kids into like international school or private school or public school or anything you want.
To add to this, university education is the other big reason young people leave the countryside for the city. For university grads, their best chance at a good job with room for growth is found in cities. The rural to urban brain drain is a real thing.
It's very convenient. Like you have train, subway, Shinkansen, airplane, like you have everything.
This is a double-edged sword. Public transportation is very convenient, but private transportation, having your own car, is not nearly as great.
It's very international. So that means they have many opportunities, obviously.
And I'd even broaden the international point and say cities have more diversity, more culture. You can find people not only from all over the world, but from all over Japan living in the Tokyo area, bringing with them a wide variety of experiences. And with the concentration of people and ideas, there's a lot of things to see and do that you won't get in rural areas.
And everything is really fast.
Yes, except when driving in a car. But I know Sherry's point is that the pace of life is fast.
If you want to do something, if you have some idea, and if I pitch the idea to somebody, and then like, I feel like you can make your dream come true like faster than like you live in countryside. Like if it's countryside, like you don't have anybody around that you can share your idea with.
Even though Matsuyama isn't Tokyo, it is a city and has the sort of conveniences one would expect.
So this is Dogo Shotengai shopping street, and this is one of the most traditional shopping street in Matsuyama.
Alright, before we get to the downside of living in non-Tokyo, let's take Tokyo down a few notches.
Too many people. Crowded. Long lines. And expensive.
I think this partly depends on your lifestyle. For example, employers pay for your commute, so you don't need to own a car and have that expense. But yes, overall, Tokyo is more expensive, housing probably being the largest expense where you get less and pay more.
And like I said, like people are a little cold and mean. They don't really care about other people. And this is a big thing. It gets dark too early in the winter. Like it's still like 4 p.m. and it's dark outside. That was kind of crazy for me.
Oh, I should point out, I asked Sherry to compare Ehime to Tokyo, so this is not a straight urban versus rural Japan comparison. Obviously, climate mostly depends on geography and daylight hours on latitude.
There are too many buildings everywhere, tall buildings, no nature. It's hot and windy.
Yeah, that's an issue with all the buildings and concrete. You get an artificial heat island that's a few degrees warmer. In comparison,
We have very calm weather. Winter is not that cold. We have like a little bit of snow and that's it. And summer, yeah, it's hot, but it's not that bad.
another con to Tokyo, depending on how you look at it, is the amount of tourists in certain areas. Interestingly, Matsuyama has found a way around this. In case you didn't know, what you're looking at is Dogo Onsen, which is famous as the inspiration for the bathhouses in Spirited Away. So lots of tourists. However,
So this one is called Tsubaki no Yu, and lots of locals go in here instead of going to the actual Dogo Onsen that we all know. But we built a new one since Dogo Onsen was going to shut down for like 7 years.
yep, so they're always making sure to have one for the locals and one for the tourists. Now on to the cons of life in Ehime.
I think one of the biggest things is that we don't have Shinkansen. So that's why we don't have lots of tourists, I guess. That's one of the reasons. And not just Shinkansen, but we don't have good public transportations. We have some like trams and buses and stuff, but not that good compared to Tokyo. But instead, we all have a car, so. And the second thing is like job, I think. If you want to work for a particular company, or if you want to do some like particular job, like if you want to be an actor, but you can't really be an actor in Ehime.
And this is generally true for most rural areas of Japan. It can be difficult or impossible to build a career in certain niches. There's just not the same confluence of industries and people.
This is something that like I've been feeling lately because like I'm trying to promote Ehime to the world because like we have lots of nature, we have like tons of good stuff, but Ehime is not really globalized yet, so not so many people speak English, of course. People are not used to seeing non-Japanese people. And so I guess a lot of people who are involved in tourism got kind of like lost, like what should we do? And I got a chance to talk to a lot of them. And we discussed, oh, we can do this, we can do that. But what can I say? Like, they want to make change so that we can accept a lots of tourists from outside of Japan. But it's hard to find people who have those skills that we need because we have less people. And even if we do, some people want to stay in the same Ehime style. They don't want to make any changes. So there are like huge argument about that. So like everything is super slow. It's like in Tokyo, if somebody has a great idea and it maybe happens in like next year, but like in Ehime, it might take like 10 years, 20 years, or maybe never gonna happen. Like they know that that's gonna be good, but we have less competitions, we have less companies. So we all can survive without competing with other companies and not creating new service or new products. So if you want to do something new in the countryside, it might be a little difficult.
Except for these automated traffic controllers during construction, I haven't seen this in Tokyo. I like this innovation. I think the big issue in rural areas we've yet to mention is the aging and decreasing population. Because for all except, well, a few exceptions, rural areas in Japan are rapidly aging as young people move to the cities and the old remain. But that's another story for future videos in this series about rural Japan. For now, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. What are the pros and cons of rural versus urban life where you're from?